Leadership State of Mind family. I hope you're as excited as I am because me and O are in the same building, in the same room, having great conversations and dialogue. How we doing?
Hey man, it's been a fun time, man. Lovely Hawaii, which in some instances today hasn't been showing up.
Yep.
And sunny Hawaii has been rainy a little bit, but it's been a good time. It's been a good time.
Yeah, man. And first of all, obviously, it's great to be in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Great to actually see you face to face, have some conversations. Too much stuff to talk about. But for this episode, I know we've been talking about is emotional intelligence. And I appreciate y'all for liking, subscribing, following, doing all the things. But man, it's been a big month for you, my guy.
It's been a big month. It's been a big month.
Yeah. I mean, so let's talk about it. The Fight to Lead is out. It's blowing up on Amazon.
Yeah.
I think as I walked around Hawaii, all I saw was people with these books.
Bro, it's super humbling too, man, because people that I didn't put this out to everybody. It's just I put it on my Facebook page and Instagram or whatever. The algorithm controls who sees your stuff. So you just never know. Sure. And then you roll up in people's office and they're like, yo, I got your book. I need you to sign it. Which is super awkward.
I saw it firsthand. It was like, hey, man, you saw I got the book, right? You going to sign it or not? Yeah, so
I'll never get used to that. I'll never, ever get used to that.
It's not normal.
Nah.
It feels weird.
It is definitely weird.
Yeah, so here's how it happened. I mean, I definitely want to get into the book and talk about all the things. But man, I've been super busy. Like we've talked about on the podcast, I do a lot of audio books. But for this one, right here, I had to make sure that I sat down and read it. And on Sunday, had me a nice flight and plenty of time and read the book cover to cover. Yeah. First of all, phenomenal piece of work, man.
Appreciate it, man. I
loved it. And I immediately thought, if we're going to be in the same building at the same time, we got to talk about the book.
Got to.
I hope you're ready to go 12 rounds because we about to go 12 rounds.
No doubt. Using my own vernacular against me. I love it. I love it.
We're going to talk about the Fight to Lead and we're going to go one round at a time. And so as I was reading the book, I really there was certain things that caught my eye or that really interested me. Yeah. And so I just wrote down a bunch of questions and I just want to hit one question for each round just to give some perspective and really open up the audience to what the book's about without giving it all away. And then again, live, go to Amazon, go check it out, and we'll plug that again at the end, man. Yeah. But man, it's really an unbelievable experience to be reading something about someone that you know very well. Yeah. But to learn new things about you and to hear your perspective, because it's almost like I'm reading the book and I'm hearing you say it. So it was awesome, man. I'm super proud of you, and man, I think it's a great piece of work, man.
I appreciate you, bro.
All right, man. So let's get into it. All right, round one. So round one is all about belief. Yeah. And so my first question to you is, what do you turn to when you have self-doubt?
Yeah. Self-doubt is something that I think all of us deal with day in, day out, and it comes at the most inopportune time. Right? When you have to go do some of the most important things or make a decision that you know is going to be pivotal. It's when those voices start to become really loud. It's like, man, is this going to be right? Am I going to affect somebody's life in a negative manner if I get this wrong? So it's very prevalent. It starts to become really loud. But one of the first things I do is I go back to the proof that I've had in the past. Okay. Because that builds when you have done things that are right. You've made the right decisions. You've had a level of success. No matter how small that success is, you have proof of success. And that's something that you can always anchor on. One of the things I look at in terms of how I view myself and how I see myself through the ups and the downs is that failure is an event, not a person. Failure is an event, not a person. So I may make the wrong decision in this instance. Okay. So that self-doubt creeps in or whatever, and good, bad, or indifferent, I may make the wrong decision. I may make the wrong turn, but I have the opportunity to make it right because it's just an event. It's not something that I identify myself in, because as a result of the many failures that I've had, that's what this is. That's who I am. Yep. I'm a result of failures. I'm a result of falling, because it's in the getting up. It's in the recovery where all the lessons come in, all the learning comes in. So the failure is necessary. So the self-doubt, absolutely, is going to come in, but I embrace it. I embrace it because that lets me know, okay, this decision that I'm about to make, this is important, right? This direction, this left, right, up, down, whatever direction I have to go, or I'm trying to lead my team, This is important. So that self-doubt is an indicator. Yeah. It's not necessarily like this bad thing. It's, hey, now the stakes are high.
Okay.
Right? The stakes are high. So you have the bad things that you've had in your life that happen, and those start to inform your decisions, but you learn from them, which is good as well. And then you have the wins. So based on the wins and based on the things you've done right, it's like, okay, I have the ability to make the right decision. I have the ability to go in the right direction. Bet. Okay. And I lean on that and I go forward. And even in the going forward, if indications show that, hey, you made the wrong decision, you went down the wrong turn, got it. I have the ability to make it right because I don't identify in the failure. I don't identify in the fault. I just recognize it as what it is. Just an event. It's just something that happened, and I keep it moving and go towards a more positive trajectory afterwards.
Love it, man. Love it. So I sat here and we talked about round one.
Yeah.
But the bigger question, I want to go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Can we talk about what inspires you to write the book?
Yeah, man. For me, when I think about my family lineage,
okay,
I have no idea what my great grandfather was interested in, thought about the world, thought about life. And I don't have that to reach back to get wisdom from quote unquote my ancestors, right? Or I don't know if I have the same desires, the same parallels with my great parents, right? So one of the things that I feel the responsibility for is in this time to identify principles for what's allowed me to be successful. But it's not just for me.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the foundational principles that I believe in is that the fruit isn't for the tree.
Okay.
Right. So the tree grows the fruit, but the tree is not consuming the fruit.
Yep.
Right. The fruit is for others. It's to serve others. Right. So service first. Right. But to leave a legacy of the gifts and talents that I have, the contributions that I want to make to the world for my family, for my great grandkids down the line. If they want to know what great grandpa Armand
was about,
thought about leadership, what was he passionate about,
yeah.
And are there any parallels? Are there any consistencies that exist within that? They can pick that book up. They can look at this podcast.
Check it out.
They can know what I'm passionate about, and they can glean from my wisdom as they grow, and hopefully remove some of the barriers that they have in their lives. So that's really the main reason is I believe that we're all gifted and talented in very specific ways, but that fruit isn't for us.
Yep.
Right. Okay. It's not for us. It's for those we have the privilege of serving. So
that's dope, man. So now you got this concept, right? You got this why behind it.
Yeah.
But as I'm reading through it, and as we talking about going round by round, why did we choose rounds vice chapters?
That's a fight, bro. So it was a fight to even write this book. I thought I had a concept early on, and I started to write, and it just didn't fit. I see so many leadership books that are external that talk about you need to adopt this strategy, you need to interact with people in this way, right? It's all apart from you.
Yeah.
Well, the assumption is that you got you figured out.
Exactly.
You can't lead, and leaders out there know you cannot effectively lead anybody if you haven't figured out how to lead yourself.
Yep.
Right. But that's where the true fight is, right? When you're looking in the mirror and you have to make a decision towards somebody's life that may put you in a situation that doesn't serve you. Sure. Right. That's a hard thing to do because we're naturally, as humans, self-serving. So you have to be a leader. You have to be willing to go against the things that are within you, the desires and the things that you want for yourself. You got to go against those because that's what service is all about. And that's a fight, right? Because it's an intentional act, right? We don't naturally run to the hard. Yeah. We don't naturally go towards the difficult thing. It's a decision that we have to make, right? And in that decision, there's friction, right? And in that friction, there's a fight, right?
Yep.
Your will versus what you want. And that's always going to be the case. So the fight to lead is just that. It is an inward fight to be able to lead effectively. So that's why all the rounds, that's all the chapters are broken down into rounds.
I love that, man. So what do you think was the hardest thing about writing a book?
The hardest thing about writing a book was writing a book.
Okay. Just
because
doing the work.
Just doing the work. I thought I've been writing almost, my whole life now. I've been writing since I was 6 years old.
Okay.
Writing poems and short stories, all kinds of stuff. And that whole time, because I never put a legitimate series work together, I thought I had to be inspired to write, because I'll go for a run or go work out, or people get inspiration in the shower, right?
Yeah, I've read that. I've read that multiple times. It's like taking walks and taking showers.
Yeah,
for inspiration.
Yeah, so, or I'm just driving and I'll get a thought and I'll start to go. But you can't create a cumulative work of literature or bring all of your thoughts together and make it a similar work unless you're consistent. So I couldn't just count on when I was inspired, because if I just waited until I was inspired to write, that book would have never came to fruition.
I wouldn't have the book in my hand.
You would not.
Okay.
You would not, because I had to sit down and say, look, from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write something.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes it was 10, 20 pages, right? Sure. I'll get it in. And sometimes it was 2 paragraphs that I ended up deleting the next day.
Yeah.
Right. But I had to do it. I had to, once the outline was done and the hypothesis and what I believed about what the work should be was done, I just had to do the work. Yeah. And that's the hardest part about writing a book, is just that consistency of just doing it. It's not about inspiration. It's just about doing the work.
Cool, man. Well, I needed the backstory before we got back into the fight.
Yeah.
So now we got the backstory. We understand the why behind the book. And now I'm ready to move to round 2. So round 2 is ego.
Yeah.
So what is your biggest lesson on ego?
Man, I could pull a ton of stuff.
Rolodex?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. There's a reason why it's number 2.
Yeah.
Right. In chapter number 2 in the book, next to ego, because it's something that I absolutely struggle with. Even my decision to join the Navy was putting my ego aside. I was blessed enough to have a really good high school career in terms of my academics and how I scored on tests and things of that nature. But I tell you, that blew my head up considerably.
Sure.
And I had a moment of clarity where I recognized that the story that my ego was telling me was a lie. Yeah. Was that, I don't need anybody. I got it all figured out. And these are absolute lies. And it kept me from understanding that, no. I have a long way to go. So that moment of clarity is what got me to join the Navy. And I thought that with that decision that I was going to be able to overcome my ego, but nah. Yeah. It's a constant struggle. It's a constant battle, because I'm a naturally self-confident person, and the fight to be able to serve first and to recognize no one cares how good you are.
Yep.
No one cares what you know. No one cares about any of those things. Nobody cares about how smart you are. Matter of fact, we hate the people that try to be the smartest people in the room
all the time.
Right?
Yep.
But one thing that will always connect with people is the ability to care for them. The ability, to serve them. That's what people remember. That's what people respond to. It's not about what you know. It's not about like all these egotistical look at me, pump my chest things. Nah, man, that's not what service is about. And that's not what leadership is about. And even to this day, man, like when you do well, people come with the accolades. They come with the rounds of applause, and you can easily get hypnotized by those things and think, man, I'm out here doing well. But that's not the case. It's not, because there's so many people that are a part of this process now, especially where we are in leadership. There's so many people that are a part of our success that if we're completely delusional, we're gonna take ownership of that credit. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we've talked about ego on the podcast before. We've shouted out Ryan Holiday.
Yep.
Ego is the enemy. So I loved reading this chapter, because I feel like if you as a leader can't remove ego from your day to day, then like you're in it for the wrong reason. If you are in leadership to get accolades and to be a part of that, man, the awards are nice and the things are nice, but it's those moments when no one else is around.
Yep.
When someone's just like, hey, I remember this one thing you did for me that you didn't have to.
Yeah.
And so, man, I love chapter 2.
Yeah.
I liked round 2. Try not to take it personal. Try to make sure I stay balanced, because I think just like emotional intelligence, keeping your ego at bay is a is a daily, weekly. It's an all the time thing, right?
Yeah.
You hear the noise, start believing your own hype. So it's something that just all things you got to constantly think about. Yeah. So I definitely love that one, man. All right, so round 3, we swinging. We talking about past hurts.
Yeah.
So what voices creep in your head, and how do you remove them from your psyche?
Yeah, man. I will tell you from the book, just to give some insight. When I first showed up to my first submarine, the most prevalent voice was the second in command, the executive officer, saying to me, "Oh, your kind doesn't last long here."
Yep.
And that thing stayed with me a long time. And every now and then, even to this day, it still comes up.
Sure.
Because there's when in new positions and with new challenges, right, becomes new uncertainty. And in that uncertainty, there's always that question on, man, can I actually do this? Like, and I'm getting ready to go to a new job, out in Japan. So that question is there. This is a new challenge. This is going to be a bigger scale, so to speak. And every now and then, man, can I do this? Right? Which is the right question.
Yep.
Right? Because if you think you got to figure it out, now you got to go back in chapter 2, right, to ego, right? But you embrace that question and help to in an effort to help you find blind spots that you may have, right? So, but the bad side of that is that it can drive you to a dark place. And early on, that voice, that negative voice from that executive officer is absolutely what drove me to an angry place, a frustrated place where my vision, my clarity was zero.
Yeah.
Right? I couldn't, it was just, all I saw was red. So one of the things that has helped with that is when those voices that come from there, come from other people, they don't know you.
Yeah.
They don't know you. And what I used to do was take those voices and let it fuel me. Yeah. Right, put that chip on your shoulder. Right, sure. You kind of hear this dialogue from people. It's like, oh, they didn't believe in me, and that's what drove me. And so the fuel, that what I found out over the years is that the fuel that comes from those negative beliefs, that doubt that is infused from other people, the fuel that comes from that is temporary.
Yeah,
right. You can get a nice boost, a little nitric boost, sure, from that to get you from point A to point B, right? But this journey we're going all the way to Z.
Yeah.
Right. So the fuel that comes from the beliefs from friends, right? The encouragement from those around me that care about me, that fuel, right, is infinite.
Yeah.
Right. And we do ourselves a disservice when we give so much energy and focus towards those negative voices.
Exactly.
When there's so many people that are like, I believe in you. I'm right. Whatever you need, right? That's supporting you, that's encouraging you. And once we shift our focus to that fuel, those voices go away because that fuel source takes out all the mess, right? It's clean energy.
Yep.
Right?
Love it.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that, man. I think it's such a good point because I know certainly anytime someone told me I couldn't do something, it was like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
But it's not long term.
Yeah.
And we keep rehashing stuff we've talked about, but the importance of having a circle of people around you, right, that are going to tell you if you're messing
That's
up.
A fact.
But at the same note, if they believe in you and you're having self-doubt, when you can turn to them and they can be like, you can do this, bro. It changes. Fact. It's a game changer. So, All right, man. I like that one a lot. All right, man. So round 4, we still swinging, throwing some jabs. So you said, or the question I have for you with fear for round 4 was, what are your thoughts on being vulnerable with your team when you have doubts and fears?
Yeah. Once again, this fight is an intentional choice to go against what we naturally want to do.
Mm-hmm.
When we present ourselves, we want to present ourselves in the best light possible.
Sure.
Right? We want to present the best of ourselves. But a lot of times in leadership, people need to be able to connect with us.
Yep. And
if we've purported ourselves as though we are perfect, we got everything figured out, every decision that we've ever made was right, people can't aspire to that. And our job as leaders is to make leaders.
Yes.
So if my job as a leader is to make another leader and I present myself as perfect, I project perfection in the way that I carry myself, guess what? They're going to look at that and like, oh, I can't do that. I don't want to do that.
I'm never going to be able to get to that level. Yeah.
So what's the point, right? Yep. So to really connect with people and show them that you can be who you are. We are a collection of faults. We are collections of wins and losses, right? That's who we are as humans. So we have to show both sides. We can't just show the wins. We have to show the losses. We have to show where we've fallen and gotten back up. We have to show where the adversity came. It may have knocked us off our swag a little bit, right? But we got back in there and kept it moving. So being able to show like who we are, show our heart. And in a military sense, I find it very interesting, right? One of if you look back in history where the hand salute came from,
okay,
right? Just keeping the military for you military types, right? When they used to wear helmets or whatever, and there always were assassination attempts that happened. This was back in the Roman times, right? So how they saluted each other, how they connected with their team, what the hand salute was, they took their weaponed hand, right? And this is what they did to show that they were open. They were vulnerable to show that they didn't have a weapon. They didn't, that they came in peace, right? They didn't come to bring war. They didn't come to hurt, right? So we show our teams that we're not coming to hurt them by being vulnerable, right? We show, no, this is who I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is all of who I am. I'm not coming to bring any pain. I'm not coming to bring anything that's going to hurt you. My goal is to serve, right? So vulnerability is the means that we utilize to connect with people. We connect with people through our faults, right? It's through it's through the hurts that we connect with people.
Love that, man. Anytime I'm talking to someone that works that I serve or work for or that I'm dealing with on a constant basis, and they're like, "Man, how did you get? How do you know how to do that?" And I'm like, "Well, let me tell you about let me tell you this horrible story where I learned this lesson, right?
Exactly.
Like you can. I'm gonna teach you this story so this never happens to you, right? I think being vulnerable is just it's a huge component, man. So I love that you have that in there. I thought that was a big deal. All right, so round 6 was self-image.
Yeah.
So in that chapter, I think the thing that's most important is understanding like who your sounding board is to put you back in place.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in that whole chapter, it's all about like who's gonna get you back to the right mindset. So who is it for you?
Yeah, hey, it's Tynesha Owens.
Okay.
Right? She's gonna get mad that I said her full government name on this video. But
I was thinking it when you said it. I'm like, you have to deal with that one.
That's right. But Ty, is everything. She is the one that knows me the best. She's the one that checks me. This leadership journey, that I'm on, it's a team. This is a team sport, right? Because once again, like I said, there's the natural self-confidence, and sometimes that ego creeps in unaware and gives you a false sense of who you are.
Yeah.
Right. You start to look at yourself and start uniform looking good. You're shining, making all the right decisions.
Yep.
Now you start to lean towards your own self-serving ways. And you need somebody, and you need somebody that says, "Hey, knock you over the head." Like, remember, this ain't about you.
Yep.
This ain't about you. And at the same time, when you're feeling down, right? Because when you can get too high, and you can also get too low, where now you're going to that self-doubt, right? You have a distorted view of who you are, based on maybe things you made a couple of bad decisions along the way, and you need somebody that's going to center you and get you back, to no. Hey, failure's not an event. I mean, failure's an event, not a person, right? And because I got that from her, right? She's the one that helped center me when that doubt creeps in, or you try to get too high about things. So she's the one that helps with that self-image.
Yeah, man. We talked about having the right circle around you, and how they can help keep you centered, but having that one support, and I think for all the leaders out there, like I don't think you need to be married at this point to be a great leader, right? It's not like, but you need to have somebody. You need to have a best friend, a confidant, someone that's going to be able to be like, "Hey, man, like you ain't that great."
Yeah, tell you the truth.
Or hey, are you really that down? You've done all these things. You're not perfect. And I think it's truly awesome to have a wife, someone that can help support you on that. But the bottom line is you got to get someone out there to keep you in line.
All facts.
Yep. All right. So we moving on to round 7. We halfway through it.
Yeah.
We still in the fight. We still in the fight. So I remember reading this book on the plane, and I read this phrase, and I put the book down, and I picked up my phone, and I was like, what is that's? Like, talk to me about that's, because I had never heard that before. And I'm like, yep, that's going to be a question we're talking about. So talk to me about that's.
Yeah, man. As leaders, we are expected to always have an answer.
Sure.
We're the ones that are always expected, to know the direction, know where to go, right? So people come to us and they are hoping that we can resolve their problems.
Yeah.
Right.
Problem solver.
Yeah. The unique part about that is this. They bring emotion with their problems, right? Whether it's apathy, whether it's super excited, and most of the time is from a place of being just super excited. And can you believe that this person did this?
Yep.
Right?
The audacity.
And what ends up happening to us is when you're interacting with another human, right? We subconsciously match energy with people, right? So when somebody is kind of excitable and we may be kind of low energy, right? Chill out. We'll come up a little bit just so it's not so uneven. It's just kind of, the game we play with relationships, right? But what can happen as people bring these problems and they're so excited, you get so excited as well. You match their level of energy, right? And if they're in an angry, frustrated state, what ends up happening, you matching energy, you get to a place where you're angry now, right? You believe everything that they're saying.
Yep.
You become just as frustrated and you can't believe it either.
Yep.
Right? So now you're both upset. You're both angry. You're both seeing red and you're going towards a problem with not all the right answers, not all the right information.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So what ends up happening, you absorb their stupid, right? You absorb their energy and you start to move forward towards a problem where you don't have the full context, you don't have the full perspective. And I already said earlier that anger, that frustration, that emotion, it clouds how you see things, right? Because you see through that emotion, the most prevalent emotion that you're dealing with, right? So that advises what you see, that advises how you move forward, and that may not be in an area of truth, right? So don't absorb that energy that somebody brings you. I just typically like, interesting, okay, calm down, right? And I force them to match my energy because I'm not matching theirs.
Sure. Okay. So don't absorb
the stupid. Don't absorb the stupid. DATS.
DATS. I like that. So I think so. It's so funny because we've had multiple conversations before, and after you explained it, I immediately was like, he's that's me. I have been angry and frustrated and called this man up, my confidant, my friend, and you did it to me, man. I've seen you do it. And but when you think about it, your ability, we've talked about on this, if you're going to lead, man, you can't take every situation personal. You can't lead with assumptions. So it's all aligned in that same concept. If someone comes to you with something, there's always three sides to a story, right?
Always.
Their side, the other person's side,
and
the truth, right? Which usually is somewhere in the middle. And so don't absorb stupid, man. Really allows you to put yourself in a level-headed space to be able to help solve the problem without allowing emotion and things to get in the way, man. So I think, man, that's a golden gem. That one is still need the book. But man, I saw that and I was like, wow, that's a good one. All right, man. All right, so we rolling in around 8. Get some water. Make sure you're ready to go for the next one.
Ready.
So you had a quote that said, "We become what we think about most of the time, and that's the biggest secret." And this is again another time where this is when the lady next to me stopped me on the plane. She was like, "Do you always take notes when you read?" And I was like, "I do. I often do take notes while I read." I was like, "Do you how do you take in information and try to remember it?" She was like, "Oh, I just read for fun." I was like, "Oh, well, that's fair. That's fair." My fun is trying to learn the psyche of leadership and things, so I need to write down some stuff. So yeah, man. So she made me feel uncomfortable while trying to write some notes about the book, but it's all good. We're past that. We're here now. So talk to me about that quote, man.
Yeah. So this very, very smart individual back in before Christ BC days, King Solomon said, in Proverbs, "As a man thinketh, so is he." And it's really interesting that the things that we think about the most come to fruition, right? How we believe, how we see ourselves. Those are the things that comes to fruition, right? We are the product of our thoughts, right? Thoughts become things, right? Everything that's in existence first existed in somebody's head, and they extracted it, got it out, and moved forward on it, right? So who we are is a result of the collection of our own thoughts. So that's the origin of it, right? And it's something that I always have to make sure that I remember to make sure that I'm taking control of what I'm thinking about, taking control of what I'm focusing on, and how I see myself, how I see situations. Because and why this matters so much, because as a leader, we are entrusted, right, to see things clearly, right? And if I'm challenged with a situation that has been defined as bad, and I say, oh man, this sucks, right? What hope am I giving people?
Of course,
right? How am I providing any kind of hope or direction for my team when I see it the exact same way that they see it? So I need to be able to maintain perspective. Right. I need to be able to see things from a different angle, a different approach. Right. So I say, no. It's not bad. This is actually for our good. This is how we're going to benefit, from this situation.
Okay. Man. Well, that's I like that, man. That's I think what I love about each chapter is that it's so digestible, right? Like let's say you're intimidated about leadership, right? What I loved about the book was it's giving you the information you need in a manner that's like really digestible and really resonates with a lot of people, man. But I remember writing down that quote, like, oof, that's a good one. All right,
that was the hope, man. That was the hope. You hope that that what you write, what you put out there, people absorb, that it's received well. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. All right, so round 9 was hopelessness.
Yeah.
And this is another quote that I had to write down. The lady was sleeping at this point, so she had nothing to say. She's passed out at this point because we're in round 9, so it's a little bit into the flight. So it says, there is no such thing as good or bad circumstances. There are just circumstances that we are challenged to resolve.
Yeah.
So explain, just kind of walk me through that quote and kind of like the bluff for the people out there on why that's so important to grasp that concept.
Yeah. One of the things that I think about the most is a kind of a quote that comes from Nelson Mandela that talks about, he doesn't, and I'm paraphrasing here, but what he says is, I don't experience losses, right? I either learn, right, or I grow. Like, I don't have I cannot lose.
Yeah.
And that's something that I learned early on in life, where it's like everything's happening for my benefit.
Yeah.
Right. When I taught my girls how to ride their bikes, I started with how I was taught. I started with my dad teaching me, kind of pushing me down the hill, right? And you're naturally going to fall. You're naturally going to fall in that situation, right? But falling on the street and on the asphalt is a lot worse than how I taught my girls.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want them to skin their knee. I didn't want them to hurt themselves.
Sure.
So I was like, I'm going to teach them on the grass.
Yeah.
Right? Because falling on the grass is a lot better than falling on the asphalt.
That's it.
But you still need the benefit of falling.
Yeah.
You still need, and it's not, you can look at that from a negative standpoint. Oh, you fail. And they worse. Like, oh, I fell again. You need that benefit of that falling, right? To help. Okay, now I can correct because I leaned too far over to the left this time, or I leaned too far over to the right. I need to correct myself. And that falling informs what that correction is.
And how,
right?
Yep.
So if I looked at falling from this negative standpoint, oh man, I messed up again, or I lost again, right? I'll never get to a point where I recognize that is for my benefit. Yep. And when they learned how to ride their bikes, they did it in record time. It took me a long time because I was scared to fall.
Sure.
I was just trying, I'm just trying not to fall, right? Meanwhile, I'm limiting my growth. I'm not expanding myself, right? So I'm not getting my balance in the way because I'm so tense, right? They fell on the grass and they just, oh, okay, I'm good, and got back up, right? They're more loose. They're more relaxed in that state. So the fear is not there. So when you look at how in that situation, looking at that loss, right? Looking at that circumstance from a loss standpoint is not. It's absolutely positive.
Yeah.
Right. So as leaders, we're challenged to frame and build and facilitate this environment where people can fail.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Absolutely.
But not tear their legs up on the asphalt.
Sure.
Where they're so scared to fall, where they're so scared now, right? And so tense now to make a mistake. Right. No, you build this environment so that people can fail, they can fall, right? And they look at it from a beneficial standpoint, right? So that's the kind of the goal is to look at the losses, to look at the failures, to look at those events from a beneficial standpoint. Because when you start looking at it from also negative perpetuates negative, and now it becomes habitual, and that's how you begin to see things so much so. Yeah.
Wow, man. Yeah, so when you're talking about that, I forget her name, but I know she started the Spanx company.
Yeah.
She started Spanx. And I remember she had this really dope conversation. She talked about failure. And she said that her dad every day would be like, hey, what'd you fail at today? Right. And it was like part of the table conversation. And it really resonates with me with what you're saying, right? Because you have to let leaders know that there's no perfect way to do this. Like you are going to fail along the way. Like you are going to make mistakes, but it's one, how you handle that failure, right? And two, that you learn from those things so that you self-correct. But for us as leaders, we need to create an environment, like you said, that says that failure is going to happen and then we're going to move forward on it. And as long as the failure is, hey, no one's perfect. Everyone makes mistakes.
Yeah.
Here's where you're not allowed to fail, because there are some areas that
there are some
we got to stay within these bounds. But inside there, man, is growth and development. And so I think that was a really, really strong quote that I think is really important.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, man, one of my favorite movies is a Disney movie by the name of Meet the Robinsons.
Yep.
I don't know if it's one of those underrated Disney movies that not a lot of people talk about when the rankings come out, right? But there's a scene in there where the family is sitting at the table and this new kid who just came back from the future comes in and sits at the table. He's trying to invent this peanut butter and jelly gun that you can just point at the bread, and it perfectly lines the peanut butter and jelly. And he goes and he shoots it, and it freaking sprays everywhere. And when I tell you, the entire family just gets up and absolutely celebrates and throws up, you failed. And they just absolutely celebrate. He's sitting at the table like mad and throws the gun down, but they celebrated that failure. They celebrate that because they look at it as growth, right? Because now you know a way in which not to do it, which gets you closer to success. So I love that one.
Man, I love that. I'm not gonna lie to you. I haven't seen the movie.
You gotta see it.
Well,
super
the good news is you can always watch kids' movies when you have kids.
That's a fact.
I'll put it on the list.
That's a fact. Meet the Robinsons.
All right, I'm gonna check that one out. All right, so the next one, we in round 10, man. We getting close to the end here. So this goes into the book a little bit. But we got to talk about the 24-hour cow and the kintsugi moment.
Yeah.
Did I say it right?
Yeah, it's kintsugi. Yeah.
Okay, the kintsugi moment. Yeah. So talk to me. You got to check the book out for the whole explanation. It's such a good story. But talk to me a little bit about why you felt that kid's concept needed to be in the book. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. This scenario is essentially my first leadership challenge. This is the first time I've been put in a leadership position. And mind you, I was not ready for it. I was pushed into leadership. My department head was like, nope, you are taking charge of this division that is responsible for the safe navigation of a submarine underwater. And
perfectly reasonable job for a 22, 23-year-old.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm terrified. But what ended up happening was that instead of taking that fear and learning all I could and asking all the questions and trusting my team, I went all the way back to chapter 2.
Okay.
And to ego.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I'm the leader, I'm supposed to have the right answer.
Yeah.
So for our navigational system, there's a bunch of codes that you had to put in to make sure everything was aligned. And one of my team members came and said, "Hey, this is the status of the navigation system. This is what this is where we are. Hey, put this code in." And he's like, "Is that the right code? Oh, like, why are you checking me?
Yeah.
Like, I just need you to do what I asked you to do.
I'm in charge here.
Yeah.
I know the answer.
Right.
Press the button.
Go do what I told you to do. Right.
How'd that work out for you?
Yeah. So we were supposed to get underway that day.
Yep.
I came back into the control room area and I look at the navigation system and that joker is on cow. It is shut down and it is now spinning up for calibration, which means that you can't navigate on this system and the ship cannot get underway.
And how long does that take? For that particular cow?
Takes 24 hours.
Oh, so you're definitely not getting underway.
Definitely not get underway.
Okay.
Right, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because we have very important operations that we have to go to, which counted on us leaving at that time.
Sure.
So the person who entrusted me to lead this division, I have to go and let him know, and he is furious. And he has to go let the CO, he has to go let the captain know,
yep.
who is also furious, which he said some words.
How is the ego after that one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I still remember it to this day. Very, very, very vividly, man.
Okay.
And so, I go off the ship for a while. I had to get away from it because there's nothing I could do. And I talked about, hey, failure is an event, not a person. It was definitely a person that day. It was definitely a person. That person was me. So, man, I said in the book that I was near tears, but I was crying, bro.
Sure.
Like, I'm legit crying.
Oh, see, you hear the truth here at Leadership State of My podcast. He was in tears.
Bro, I was in tears.
How old were you?
So I was 22.
Okay, 22. I was close. I said 22.
Yep, I was 22.
Right. Yep.
And I'm topside, just head in my hands, just boo horn. And Mr. Lucas, when he came up to me the first time, I didn't even know who he was, man.
Sure.
He was out there in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And he was just like, what's going on, Owens? Yeah, I have zero desire to talk to you.
This is the worst that I've had in the Navy.
I don't. Like, why are you smiling in my face right now?
Sure.
Like, these are things that are going through my head, but I'm trying to be respectful because he's an officer. He's like, man, you just having a kintsugi moment, man. You fine.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even know the words you just said to me. All right. And one of the things that he talked to me about during that time frame was just like, he knew who I was. He knew what I had been doing on board the submarine. And, because I had a bunch of friends throughout, all the submarines, right? Yeah. So we kind of know each other. We kind of know our prowess. And I kind of try to tout myself as the best navigation primary plotter in the squadron amongst other submarines during that time, right? So I'll pump my chest a little bit. So he was aware of who I was. But he just broke down to me. He's like, hey, man, you just broken. You're just broken now, but you're gonna find yourself. You're gonna find your way back. Yeah. And it's kintsugi. And he described it as these broken bowls, this bowl that was broken from this 15th century shogun, this king. He really liked this bowl, really loved this bowl. So he sent it off initially to go get fixed, and they tried to staple it together. And he was like, oh, this crap. And somebody else took it. It was like, no, I think we got it. We got a better way. And they use this golden lacquer, right, to put everything back together. And it highlights every place where there's an imperfection, where there's brokenness. And it shows it and makes it more prevalent. So you see where those imperfections are. And we talked about vulnerability, right? You see where the cuts are. You see where the imperfections are. You see where the events of failure may have occurred. But when it got put back together, it's even more beautiful than it was, when it was broken. And I would tell you, man, it was hard to find anything about kintsugi because first of all, I didn't know how to spell it.
Sure.
Right. And then back then, right, computers and Google and all that other stuff.
It was
nah.
It was
no.
Yeah.
No. Like the computer that I had, like the size of my hard drive was 6 meg.
Yeah.
Not gig, meg. So it took a while to search this thing down. And I ultimately ended up having to go to the library the next day and try to figure out what this was. But after finding out about it, I was like, man, that makes sense. I understand that. And where I thought that I was completely shattered, completely unrecoverable, I recognize I need to be, I can put myself back together, right? What am I going to learn from this?
Yep.
Right? How am I going to grow from this? And I leaned on that moment anytime I wanted to get into my head about, oh, I know this. I'm supposed to project perfection. I'm supposed to be this leader. No. I got a whole team of brilliant people that I didn't even leverage. I didn't even talk to. I didn't glean from. And that moment, man, really, really helped to, shape how I see leadership even to this day.
Man, I'll tell you. So when I read that chapter, I think we've all had one of those moments.
Yeah.
And I think when I think about like this podcast and everything we're trying to do here, I would love to be in a situation where you never have that moment that like defines you.
Yeah.
But it's probably going to happen.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. No matter how many books you read, no matter how hard you try, like you're going to think you're doing the right thing and something goes wrong, right? Yep. Ego's going to get in the way and you're going to make a mistake.
Yep.
But what I loved about that chapter was just understanding that that's part of the journey, right? And you take some of those other rounds, you remove ego, you kind of you go and find the people that you trust to give you that feedback. And then you put yourself back together, and then you just don't make that mistake again. And so, I mean, that chapter really resonated with me, and I thought that was really dope. All right, man. So we had chapter 11 or round 11. Round 11, and we talking about self-awareness. Now, we talked about self-awareness a lot for emotional intelligence. So I love that you have this in there because I've said it to you before. Like, to be the best version of yourself, you need to know yourself. Like you got to know strengths, weaknesses, flaws. And in chapter 11, you talked about never settle and avoid the comfort zone.
Yeah.
So how do you never settle? How do you avoid that comfort zone?
Man, when I was 7, my uncle took me on this walk, and there was this park down the street that I used to always go to play basketball or whatever. And he walked me down there this one day, and he had me look. See, in the South, it's called, I don't know what you call it, but I call it a creek, right? Or a creek.
Okay.
Right? Just a body, small body of water, right? That's not very large, but that goes, one of the tributaries that goes into one of the many rivers in Georgia. But so he explains to me, he's like, hey, what do you see? It's like, just running. It's just water. Water, just, right? Just nothing. He's like, exactly. It's like, that's what water is supposed to do. It's supposed to run. Yeah. It's supposed to continue to move. And then over on the other side, he was like, hey, so, what is this? And that's where some of the water kind of comes over the rocks and settles, right? He's like, what about this water? What do you see over here? It's like, it's not moving. He's like, exactly. It's stagnant, right? He's like, the only thing that stagnancy brings is death and mosquitoes.
Okay.
Right? So
that was at 7, huh?
That was at 7, bro.
Man,
like,
all right.
That's
deep.
What's interesting is that how we remember things. I thought it was my dad, that took me on that walk.
Yeah.
But my uncle reminded me, like the last time I was at home, this was like a year and a half ago.
Okay.
He was like, you remember that time? I was like, dude, you were the one that took me on that walk. Like I use that because I use that story all the time.
Yeah. In
terms of why I can't stop moving, why I can't stop growing, because growth is in the forward progression. It's in the moving forward, even in the failing forward, right?
Sure.
But it's when you're stagnant, and we've all seen standing water. We see what it brings, right? You see that the nastiness start to build on the top of the water. You see the bugs start to come in. There may be a stench, an odor that's coming from that standing water because it's death. Death happens in the non-movement, right? So that comfort zone that we may think that we're happy in that moment. We may think that this is what we want. I want to get to a frictionless state.
Yeah.
No. Nothing exists in a frictionless state. Nothing in nature stops growing.
Yeah.
Right? We violate the rules of nature if we stop growing. Right?
Yep.
A tree doesn't stop growing.
It just keeps going.
Because it said, I think I'm good now.
Yeah.
Right? It sheds, it grows. The fruit come more small fruit, big fruit, whatever, right? It continues to grow. So therefore we can never come to a state in nature where we're frictionless, where we're not growing. So that's how I recognize if I'm doing something different than what nature is doing, I'm probably not doing the right thing.
You're in the wrong line.
I'm probably not doing the right things, right? So that's that story, that illustration is something that's always stuck with me, which is why I'm always moving, always growing, always expanding. Because at the end of the day, like I said, the fruit is not for the tree, right? The fruit is for those that come up on that tree, that are exposed to that tree.
Yeah, man. I think about when I read that chapter, the thing that was coming to me was, one, keeping those people around you to check you, right? Yeah. Like, hey man, what you working on now?
Yeah.
Like, hey, like having a group of people. Like, I think yesterday we had a moment where we was patting each other on the back.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I was like, hey man, I really appreciate you, man. You kind of inspired me to do better. You're like, man, you do the same.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to have those people around you. The other thing that I would tell you is the lesson for leaders in this is that you've never arrived, man.
Never.
Like if you're like, I've made it, I'm here, and then you're gonna rest on those laurels and think that you've made it, and you don't stay in the books and stay prevalent and continue to grow and develop. Like that's what when I read that chapter, I was like, this is the moment that you need to teach young leaders.
Yeah.
Like if you strive to get to that leadership position and now you're there, you haven't arrived, man. Like you're now permission granted for you to grow more. How are you going to keep going?
Yeah.
And so, great lesson, man. And we finally made it.
Yeah.
We in the last round.
Yeah.
We keeping our arms up. We tired, but the key to this whole book and what I loved about it is that each round is going to make you stronger and more ready for the fight.
Yeah.
And if you can understand that, you get to a place where you can be a better version of yourself, which is what the book is about, the podcast
is about. That's what we about here. Leadership state of mind.
Exactly. So the last thing that I remember writing down and being like, yeah, I could probably get better at this. Pouring into people that reject you.
Yeah.
Talk to me real quick about how and why you do that.
Yeah. So you're going to meet people. You're going to have people on your team, interactions with people that are not going to receive what you have.
Yeah.
And we like to see results immediately.
Yeah.
We want to see something that we've done, some effort that we put in, and we want to see those results almost immediately. But in leadership, it doesn't work like this.
Mm-hmm.
People don't have to receive from us.
Are you saying that when I get in front of people, that some people are not gonna they're not gonna like what I have to say?
Facts.
Yeah, you're probably right.
That's
okay.
a fact.
Okay.
And there are people that are going to look at you and they're going to reject your message. They're going to reject what you have to bring, even though you are coming from a heart of service. You're coming from a place of wanting to see them be better. You're going to pour all you have into some people that have chosen to reject everything that you bring to them. But they're worth it.
Sure.
Every person is worth your best.
Yep.
And I think about, and if you notice, a lot of the illustrations that I use, I get from nature.
Yep.
And I think about the harvest. I think about the work that you put into the fields. I put the seeds out there. Yep. I water it continuously, but I have no idea what that harvest is going to be.
And it's not the point.
And that's not the point.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You have to put the work in.
Yeah.
Because if I choose not to put the seed out there, if I choose not to water it, because it may not be the best plot of land, right? It may not be the best seeds. There may not be the best conditions to plant this thing.
Sure.
That's irrelevant.
Yep.
Right? Because if I never do anything, I can 100% assure that I get nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Love it.
And once again, the fruit is not for the tree. The things that grow, that's not for me. That's not for my own consumption. Right? So I have a responsibility to plant the seed. I have a responsibility to water it regardless. Because if I don't, then I know for certain that nothing is going to come of it. Right? But there is a chance that one sentence, that one encouragement, that one edification that you made in the midst of all the things that you've said, there something may get through. Right? Something may sink in, and they may not realize it a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, but it may come to fruition, may come to harvest where they remember that you put that work in. They remember that moment, and it changes something for them. It helps them in some way.
Yeah.
We don't know what that's going to be. We don't know what the end looks like. But we do know for certain that if we don't put the effort in, if we don't seek to serve first, that it's going to be nothing.
Yeah.
And I have a responsibility to do all I can to see the best from the people that I have the privilege of leading. So
I love that. And I think for a lot of young leaders out there, you got to pour into people that aren't like you.
Yeah.
Right? So I'll tell you,
Absolutely.
Real quick story.
Absolutely.
I know we're running past our normal time. It was important to get through every single one of these rounds. So please stick with us. But I used to look at people that were introverted and be like, they're not a good leader, right? Like they're too quiet and too passive. And it was such obviously, I was super young, very naive, right?
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that you're going to meet people that aren't like you, that don't think like you, that aren't as inspired. For people in the military that maybe they don't want to stay in the Navy.
Yeah.
Well, those people deserve that same energy.
Yes.
And you got to keep it consistent because if you don't pour into these people, then you're never going to see what they can be.
Yeah.
But if you ignore them, you're going to find out what they're not going to be.
Exactly.
Right. And man, that chapter is so relevant. It's so important. Man. Hey, man, we made it.
We made it.
Got through the fight. Got through the fight. Again, man, I felt it's so important to do this podcast, man, because I thought the book was great.
Yeah.
Proud of you. The Fight to Lead. Go check it out. Amazon, right?
Yep.
So go check it out. Go get yourself a copy on Amazon. Not hard to find. Yeah, man. I appreciate the dialogue. Appreciate you pulling the curtain back a little bit more on the book. Go check it out. Leadership State of Mind family, man. Like, share, follow, purchase the book. Keep coming back. We'll continue to drop M&Ms every Monday. Continue to do all the things that we do here at Leadership State of Mind. Because remember, if you missed it before, rarely does becoming a leader make you a better person, but becoming a better person will always make you a better leader.
Absolutely. That's what we aim to do. Leadership State of Mind.
Leadership State of Mind. Y'all have a blessed day.
Peace. That was good.
Was it?